One man that warned all of us ahead of time years ago. A man that because of his, vision, he was able to warn us ahead, and that automatically puts a target on his back. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
There are moments in history when a single voice rises above the noise, warning of dangers ahead. Some listen, others dismiss it as paranoia. But what happens when the warnings turn out to be true? Hi, my Bessies, welcome back to Explorewithsu. If today's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so when we upload any video, you will be the first to be notified. Today, we revisit a story that is more than just about one man. It is about a system so broken that it criminalizes those who demand justice while protecting those who destroy it. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, a man who dared to challenge the status quo, a man who saw the storm before it came. Instead of being heard, he became a target. The question is, was he wrong, or was he just too loud for those who benefit from silence? Think about this. When a government goes to extraordinary lengths to silence one man, what exactly are they afraid of? What truth did he uncover that made them violate international law just to bring him back? And why are those who commit actual crimes given amnesty while he remains locked away? This is not just a political issue. It is a test of justice, a battle between truth and power. Stay with me as we break it all down by listening to this video.
The Nigeria criminal system, the Nigeria criminal politicians have done so much in spreading different kind of propaganda to justify the criminality, the illegality, the illegitimacy of the continued trial of Nnamdi Kanu. And just last month, if you will remember, or recall, rather, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers, right, received an impromptu appearance letter from the discredited, compromised Binta Nyako, the woman that has been used to perpetuate the illegality of the continued illegal detention of Nnamdi Kanu. She demanded to see Nnamdi Kanu and his lawyers. And upon their arrival in court, she wanted them to start defending whatever case she thinks she has against him. Unfortunately for her, Nnamdi Kanu had to take the stand, challenged the supposed lawyer of the government of Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu was initially, well, let's start from a rollback, please, okay? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu became the enemy of the ruiners, the looters, the dream killers, destiny killers of that contraption called Nigeria, when he started raising alarm on the impending terrorism of the Fulani terrorists, and how much the supposed people that are supposed to keep, the people that are supposed to keep you and I safe in that contraption, how much they have now in bed, and in fact, how much they were going to protect these terrorists the moment they begin to attack us. That Nnamdi Kanu saw ahead of time, that automatically puts a target on his back. The Nigerian system, the criminals in Nigeria did everything, and they are still doing it, to ensure that they criminalize the supposed democratic tenant called referendum, something that is not criminal. They decided to criminalize it. Not just that. They used the Nnamdi Kanu's expose on them. They used that to perpetuate another set of state-sponsored genocide. Some said it is a massacre, but it is both systemic ethnic tribal cleansing orchestrated by those in charge of Nigeria. Let me give you an idea of what that means. The Fulani terrorists, for some reason, they have declared jihad on the rest of us in that Nigeria. Anyone demanding that we should go our separate ways is considered an enemy to this project. And that is why today the Nigeria criminal system. They went as far as going to Kenya to break international treaty, break international law by kidnapping Nnamdi Kanu. So when they took him to Nigeria, their own courts, they charged him for terrorism. Can you believe that? No, sorry, they actually initially charged him for treason. When they couldn't really prove any of that, because their own court said nobody can try Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria. No court can try Nnamdi Kanu in Nigeria because of the process in which he was abducted, kidnapped, right, drugged, and smuggled back into Nigeria. That breaks international law. Nigeria broke law because they wanted to keep a man, a single man that kept, knocking senses into the ears of this thick skull of these Nigerians about the impending doom that is going to be championed by the Fulani terrorists and their sponsor. So since then, right, they continue in the pathway of this illegality by continuing to manipulate their own judicial system, so compromised that Nnamdi Kanu then said, I can't get any justice from this place. There will be no justice in this courtroom. There will be no justice in court of Binta Nyako. Because Binta Nyako has, husband, her son, they are currently standing trial for corruption, systemic corruption in Nigeria. And those who kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu, who disobeyed their own court judgments, those who have continued to sort of compromise the judiciary, because, compromise the judiciary until they will get a predetermined final judgment, which has become so almost impossible in their own court. So Nnamdi Kanu last month was in their court, where he challenged Binta Nyako. Meanwhile, back in September 2024, Binta Nyako, after months of pressure coming from Nnamdi Kanu, that you need to recuse yourself. You do not have any legal standing to actually try me. You can't try me. You are a compromised individual. You are not even independent. You are not independent-minded. So in September 2024, Nyako recused herself from the case. I said, well, I hands off. I can't try Nnamdi Kanu. I don't want to be part of this case anymore. Only for who they call the president of the Federal High Court in Nigeria to write an internal memo that she must continue and she must convict Nnamdi Kanu. So when Nnamdi Kanu saw, when she sent this emergency appearance letter, and Nnamdi Kanu showed up, same thing happened. And she was expecting Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers to put up a defense. A defense for what? They said, oh, they've dropped the treason. They've dropped the treason charges. Now they are charging Nnamdi Kanu for terrorism. So Nnamdi Kanu committed terrorism in their own DSS detention. How? So Nnamdi Kanu stood up and said, you may be daft, you may be compromised, but listen, I'm not stupid. Listen to me again, Madam Judge. You do not have any right, legal standing to try me. Here are the section of your own laws, your own constitution in this contraption that says you have recused yourself. And no internal memo, right? Internal memo will change that. You would have to first of all appeal your recusal. And if any other judge in your contraption decided, right, to reinstate you, that is when you can say, okay, you want to try me. But in my own, from my own side, you are never going to try me. I hope all of you remember that scenario. If you have forgotten, I think I have a copy here. Just a quick reminder of that scenario.
Okay guys, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. The man we are discussing today did not just wake up one morning and decide to be a problem for the government. He raised concerns that any reasonable leader should have addressed. He spoke of security crisis. He exposed alliances between those in power and those causing chaos, and he predicted the collapse of safety in Nigeria. But instead of addressing these issues, the system turned against him. Why? Because in a country where lies are convenient, the truth is dangerous. The same government that accused him of crimes could not even follow the law themselves. They went outside Nigeria, broke international laws, and kidnapped him. Imagine that. If a country can violate global agreements just to silence one man, what does that tell you about the state of justice within its borders? And let's talk about the irony. While he was locked up, the very crisis he warned about grew worse. The real perpetrators of violence, the ones who attack communities, destroy farms, and enforce their rule, were not arrested. In fact, they were being reintegrated into society under different names, repentant terrorists. So, let's be honest here. Who is really the threat here? The man who spoke out against terror or those who commit it freely? Now, despite everything, despite being locked away, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu did not back down. When he was dragged to court by force, by the way, he did something remarkable. He refused to let them rewrite the law just to suit their agenda. And in that moment, he exposed something bigger. Nigeria's justice system was never about fairness. It was about control.
He did something in my case. I refused him. He was conscious official. I asked him to recuse himself. Why did the chief judge not insist I was right? He left my case.
Okay, listen. If anybody is not happy with this, which is true, then you need to go and
No, I cannot. Because I have a court order. I have a court order. You have recused yourself. I have a court order. Anybody who disagrees with this order of court, go to appeal court. That's what you tell me all the time. You are conscious official. You cannot preside over this case number again. Not in this life. You cannot. Not now, not tomorrow, not ever. A woman here cannot force this court to preside on my case. You cannot. Not today, not till forever. You are recused and you stand recused. Tell the chief judge, Nnamdi Kanu said, go on appeal. I recused him from my case. The state recused Justice Adema from my case. I did not insist Adema must hear my case. I never insisted. So why must you insist to hear my case? I don't want you in my case. I don't need you in my case. You are biased. You are biased. You cannot be in my case. A woman should do the right thing. A chairman of the board of Renters Constitution shall receive propriety. Nowhere in the world is such nonsense done. You cannot be hobnobbing with lawyers, hobnobbing with justices, and you're proceeding a case. It's shameful. Absolutely shameful. Shameful. This is not a court of law. This is a shrine to injustice. And I will not subject myself to it. You stand recused and you must take my case. You cannot try me. This man is not paying attention. There is an order of recusal, and he's a senior advocate for goodness sake. There's an order of recusal. Is that not the rule of law? The law says if you disagree with this, you go and appeal. You are a grown-up man. Because of 300 million, you're behaving like a child. Go and appeal. Because of money. Because of money they're paying you from ATM surface, you are here standing and smoking evil. Because of money. A grown-up man like you say you have to want to behave like a man of honor. The rule of law says you go and appeal. His Lordship Peter Yebe will not try my case. Not on this planet Earth, I'm telling you that now. So stop wasting your time.
So that I said, the view of the past that the defendant has indicated that he will not make a formal application. I apply that the Lordship was extremely day for hearing.
You are not well. You are not well. I'm telling you, this is what I'm not well. This is an order of court. An order of court says Justice Peter Nyako is recused. An order of court. Order she made as an order. The same Chief Justice writing the stupid memo he's writing. I recused him. He was conscious official. He sat on appeal. I took him to NJC. I recused him. Why did he not say I must sit on your case? Why in the case of his lordship is he insisting? He wants to embarrass her. He wants to embarrass your lordship by asking her to come and sit on this case. Is that what you're saying? There's an order of give it to him. He doesn't have it. Give him an order of court. It's an order of court. Give it to him. He doesn't have it. An order. Give it. He doesn't have it. It's an order of court.
I take your permission.
It's an order of court.
I take your permission to address you. But let me tell the defendants that in everything now, there's need for wisdom. And wisdom is very important in this matter.
And telling lies.
It is not right for you to be insulting the teacher and insulting.
If you insult yourself, I will insult you.
And
If you have no respect for yourself, I will insult you. Because people are telling the law, when it comes to Nnamdi Kanu, you turn the law upside down. The law says one thing, if the law says this paper is white, when I go to court, they say it's black. When I say it's black, they say it's white. Is that law? I'm asking you, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is that law? Is the memo from Chief Judge, is memo from Chief Judge sufficient to set aside and a court order? The answer is no. Why do you want to change the law in my own case? His Lordship, Justice Netanyahu, stand recused in my case. Cannot try me. Why don't you get it? Give me your definite get for trial so you can do your mathematics you always do. People without shame. I have here before me for the benefit of Chief Awomolo because it seems he doesn't know the law. So I will tell him, this is national judicial policy of this country. Please give them a copy each. National judicial policy of Nigeria. National judicial policy. I will tell you what it says. Because you don't know, I will tell you. Talking about memo from the Chief Judge of the High Court. Judicial policy of Nigeria. 1C. I'm reading. Verbatim. In the performance of judicial functions, the judge is subject only to the law and must only consider the law. The rule of law in every common law jurisdiction in the world is that once an order of court is entered, the only way to set aside it is by going on appeal. That's the rule of law. But it's not advocate, you don't know. I will go to see. A judge must not take or attempt to take orders or instructions of any kind from anyone, even the chief judge, from anybody that may influence his decisions in the performance of judicial function. It means that his lordship, having entered an order of court, a decision between myself and her.
You cannot try me. What is so difficult in understanding that? What is difficult in understanding that statement? Is not just saying it. It is written in your supposed, what do you call it? Your supposed law book. Anyway, that went on that Binta Nyako, frustrated, decided to adjourn the case sine die. That is until further notice. So Nnamdi Kanu made them realize that, listen, I defeated you in your own appeal court, where a judgment was entered that I cannot be tried in any court in Nigeria. There is a judgment to that. And what happened afterward? Abubakar Malamu decided, he actually begged. He begged in what he called stay of execution. What the heck? Like, a judgment is entered. And somebody says, oh, because that judgment did not favor us. Please, for the sake of national security, we want to beg the courts to stay execution of that judgment until we wait for the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court will say. So then they go to the Supreme Court. They argued back and forth. So the same compromised Supreme Court delivered a near straightforward kind of a judgment. Let me tell you what it did. The Supreme Court says, number one, the revocation of Nnamdi Kanu's bail was wrong. What does that mean? It should be reinstated. It was this Binta Nyako that revoked Nnamdi Kanu's bail after the Nigerian army attempted to kill him. The day they attempted to kill Nnamdi Kanu, they killed over 30 people in his house. Afrauku in Abe. Over 30 young people were killed, including family dog. So how dare you, Nyako, withdraw his bail condition and said that he jumped bail? What do you mean by? So the Supreme Court cleared that in that judgment. They said, Nnamdi Kanu did not jump bail. So which means Nnamdi Kanu should be freed. And if you have any case, then Supreme Court now said that they should return the case back to the High Court again, where it will be determined if Nnamdi Kanu has any case to answer or not. So this is the controversial judgment of the Supreme Court, ignoring the victory of Nnamdi Kanu in appeal court. But now, if you are going to try Nnamdi Kanu, the first thing is that you should at least obey your own court sort of orders. Restore this is like going beyond the appeal court now. Appeal court that actually discharged him, acquitted him, and said he has no case in Nigeria. Right? So at least go. If you can't use that of appeal court, use that of the Supreme Court, Abi. So they returned him back to Nyako. By the time they returned him back to Nyako, they've dropped treasonable felony charges. They are now charging him for terrorism. And that was when they said, you guys are mad. It is part of the corrupt judicial system in that contraption where justice is, is pretty much like for the highest bidder, they will say. The entire system, rigged system, right, with bogus charges, just wanted this man out of circulation to stop exposing the agenda of the Fulanis and their collaborators in Nigeria against the people, the indigenous people of Nigeria. Now, this is why you see this target on Nnamdi Kanu. In their own courts, he defeated them in their own courts. He forced them to actually act so stupid and foolish in the face of the rest of the world. So when Nnamdi Kanu insisted that you will not try me, some people said he's so arrogant. Is this? I'm talking about the humbled slaves, the sophisticated moron of this world, the Ronukus, the Ronu Nazis. Some were even saying that he should be killed. Nnamdi Kanu is now being charged for terrorism. The Fulani terrorists that Nnamdi Kanu exposed, they are being given, right now, they are being given amnesty. Operation Safe Corridor. Repentant terrorists. Repentant terrorists. And they are charging a man they've locked up for over 3 years now. They are charging him for terrorism that is behind the insecurity in eastern part of Nigeria. And by law, how? By law, it couldn't have been. So on this note, Kekere Ekun, the crooked criminal Kekere Ekun Agbaule, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, responded today to the letters of Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers. And they agreed, she agreed that Nyako will no longer preside over Nnamdi Kanu's case anymore. Now, a new judge, a new court is now being assigned to what? To take over the charade, to take over the mockery of justice, to take over the illegality. Still, by the way, there is no, maybe when they get to that one, maybe, I'm just using maybe right now because I'm not really raising my hope, okay? Just maybe this time around, they would actually follow their own supposed laws and release Nnamdi Kanu. You know? Release him. That's what their law says. Release him on his last bail condition. That's what their Supreme Court's judgment says. So when the Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer came out and said, well, we have now been assigned a new judge, which is yet to actually be named. But the first victory here is that Binta Nyako, the compromised Binta Nyako, will no longer, right, have any one-on-one whatsoever with Nnamdi Kanu anymore. There will be no furtherance of this shameful, miscarriage of justice. against an innocent man. Everything Nnamdi Kanu told us about the Fulani and their agenda come to pass. APC, Egbekegbe, Al-Qaeda People's Congress, Akpayon People's Congress. Their agenda is to what? Is to come to loot, which is to steal. Their agenda is to come to destroy, which is to divide. Their agenda is to come to kill. And that is what they are carrying out. And the Fulani terrorists and their collaborators in that contraption celebrated the kidnapping of Nnamdi Kanu, including the gullible ones, some of you, gullible morons. They are bought into their propaganda so steadily, conveniently. And then you actually was like, it was like, give us Barnabas, and then crucify this Jesus. I'm not comparing him, by the way, so there's no blasphemy. I'm just saying that is exactly what is going on in that contraption. Terrorists, people are watching these criminals inside this contraption, giving what they call the repentant repented terrorist, right? They said they are rehabilitating them, sending them back into the society. And the insecurity in Nigeria, the terrorism in Nigeria continues. In fact, it continues to grow, escalate. It has now become a multi-billion-dollar industry in that contraption. And up till now, more and more of our people have either been killed, kidnapped, with ransom paid. Others' livelihood have been so destroyed. And the people have been told to be on their own. Oh, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu launched what is called the ESN, Eastern Security Network. It was more or less like the forest rangers to protect the innocent civilians who are the primary targets of this Fulani terrorist, armed Fulani terrorist from Futasoro, Futagalon in the Sahel. Thousands of kilometers away from the southern part of Nigeria, where they are telling us to learn how to live with our own murderers, with our own killers. Rather than them clamp down on this murderous, Fulani terrorists, Nigeria was trying to teach us how to share and give up our lands to this murderous, jihadists. It went on and on and on for years, with thousands of lives lost. And of course, hundreds of billions of naira worth of people's personal properties destroyed, especially on the farms. So today, people are asking, wait, if the reason why they wanted Nnamdi Kanu dead was because they felt like he was inciting the people against the Fulani, murderous Fulani terrorists. With the track record of this Fulani terrorists in the last 9-10 years alone, isn't that enough for the Olori Brukus in charge of that contraption to have actually probably like retraced their steps and possibly turn this guy into your own national hero? I'm just saying, because everything is said will happen, happened, and still happening. Today, in Ehahamufu, in Enugu, dead body. I'm talking about attacks after attacks, everyday attacks, to the point that the people in that community, in these communities, they have had to stage endless days of protest, calling on government to come to their aid. They no longer go to their farms, they can't sleep in their homes, and they just have nowhere to turn to. And Nigeria has gotten to a stage whereby you can't even defend yourself anymore. Defending yourself is considered a crime. Calling for people to defend themselves is also considered as incitement. All of this institutionalized terrorism inside that contraption, orchestrated, financed, and legalized by no other person than the Daura lifeless mannequin, Muhammadu Buhari. the man that did everything to try to make us to normalize this murderous gang. They gaslighted us, remember? They gaslighted us, Baba. They said that we had what was called the Fulani phobia, that we detest this terrorism and the terrorists and their sponsor. They decided to gaslight us. They said we were inciting people. Victims were not allowed to tell their stories. Anybody who tried to amplify that becomes a target. And today, like I said, everything Nnamdi Kanu wants us off is happening. In Eha Amofu, in Enugu, they had another protest today, and it's the same story. The story of anguish, death, destruction. And I can't really show you the videos and the pictures of the victims of late. It's, this Olori Brukus in charge of this contraption, they ensure that their propaganda, their politically sponsored criminality in the eastern part of Nigeria is blamed on the IPOB, and their propaganda works so much on so many of you, especially those from the eastern part of Nigeria. The IPOB that never actually attacked anyone, ever, kidnapped anyone, ever, they are being put at the front burner as the problems, as part of the problem of Nigeria. And this kind of worked on some of you that are asking that Nnamdi Kanu should be killed. Maybe your problems will be solved. Unfortunately for you, they locked Nnamdi Kanu up. They set up their politically sponsored terrorism in the eastern part of Nigeria, because any act of attacking civilians, the innocent people, right, is considered as a terrorism. The ESN that was supposed to actually provide, that should have been the stopgap between the lack of interest from those who are supposed to protect you in the eastern part of Nigeria. The ESN that was supposed to be the stopgap in between. They used different kind of blackmail. They targeted some of them known. They killed some of them, kidnapped some of them. I'm talking about the state-sponsored attack on them. It became so bad that when they pick up any petty criminals in the eastern part of Nigeria, their media will declare them as IPOB. So this propaganda works so well. They are the people who were supposed to actually stand up to appreciate the effort of this ESN and the IPOB in the eastern part of Nigeria. They bought into the propaganda. They watched the political class destroys what should have been their only saving grace, because the entire system, it is so compromised, right, so corrupt, it is so obvious as well that the Fulani terrorists are the only people given the license to kill in the southern part of Nigeria. It's like a license to kill. Even if you put together a security outfit to challenge them, and you actually catches any of them, they will be freed without any trial. I'm talking about this murderous terrorist. They will be freed. So the people are now so vulnerable as we speak. They are so vulnerable that it is like a renewed, kind of like a coordinated attacks as we speak. Where the people of Amufu have been crying. Guess who they are crying to? The same people behind their ordeal. Nigerian government. More people have now been killed.
We don't go into
Onye eme ihe anyị niile kwesịrị omume. N'ihe na-ada. Ma ọ bụrụ na ọ maghị ezi o nwere mmanụ ọ ga-echi. Anyị atawa ahụ. Mụ na furu na nwoke dị ma mmadụ ole ekeme gburu. Na ogbenye ekege gburu. Week na-abụ gara aga, a graduate Umuhu latara. A week today, ego ya dị sọsọ ogwu nwa mụta na be. Otu ebe ahụ ego. Master na-asị ọlụ ga na-eme na be. Unu gee ntị. Unu gbakịtị bịa na-anụ eme n'aka. Ihe unu tere ụnya the platform unu. Blọọbụ ndụ politics. Last sponsor lendu ụkọchukwu. Last sponsor ihe na-eme. Ndị particular, ọ bụkwa na obodo particular ndị politics sponsor ha. Unu ama na politics school na-adụkọ ọyị. Ya bụ ihe na-amata. Maka ihe niile mmejọ n'ụlọ achịnye na politics. Ya bụ ele egbubaghị. Ihe m na-arụ ọbụ. Ọ bụrụ na unu chọrọ na n'ụlọ ndị agha ka ụka. Ndị agha nwere ndị na-edu ha. Anyị nwere the president of
nobody coming to your rescue, my people. You see that self-help that you were probably saved from when Nnamdi Kanu took the responsibility, which eventually triggered them to go extra miles in kidnapping him, in breaking international law. It took a huge risk. But when it mattered most, when the people who were supposed to actually really shut down everywhere, after he was kidnapped, somehow, fear prevailed. So everybody felt like it was probably Nnamdi Kanu's cross to bear. So they did everything to try to destroy all this good foundation, this good foundation laid by Nnamdi Kanu that could have bring about, everlasting peace, awareness and peace, prosperity for the people of the eastern part of Nigeria. They allow the mofo politicians who actually hate their people, hates you. They allow them to have a free ride of kidnapping Nnamdi Kanu and locking him up. Yesterday, somewhere in Imo State, it's called Ihite Opala. Ihite Opala Road in Imo State. These Fulani terrorists took over the road where people were actually kidnapped and others got stranded because they couldn't do anything. Yesterday.
No problem. Huh? No problem. Yeah, what Bala Road do? Hessman kind of Zinki Baza. Our hand is well, our hand is well, knows of Bala. Knows of Bala, Hannah was promoted director, knows of Bala. The was one of Hebrew passengers, but you more here. My name is Bono Bala. Look out today, this 7th of March. Kankane, my life in Opala. When the Hessman, he stroke Opala. He stroke Opala. All the homotosi, Owerri, Lagos, Onitsha, everybody packed. All of them packed. No motor is coming, no motor is going.
This is the situation. Meanwhile, there are military barracks, Air Force bases scattered across the eastern part of Nigeria, police headquarters. But their only constitutional power, constitutional responsibility, right, is to hunt down every Igbo, young and old, that ever, propagates Biafra. You don't even have to propagate Biafra before they will hunt you down. When it comes to this Fulani terrorists terrorizing the people all over the place, it is beyond their jurisdiction. You are on your own. This is the state of things in the contraption, especially in the eastern part of Nigeria. People watched them, demonized the effort of Nnamdi Kanu, demonize, the sincerity of art, the love of Nnamdi Kanu for his own people. Some of them felt like they didn't feel. They actually asked that he should be killed. So the propaganda worked on some, maybe not on all, or even those who say that the propaganda didn't work on. There's another thing that is working on them: fear. The fear of I don't want to be next. And in all of this, it has given the irresponsible criminal Igbo governors a bit of confidence, right? That they are going to get away with all of this. So when Nnamdi Kanu said, if I leave this place within 24 hours, the insecurity in the eastern part of Nigeria will end, they launched an immediate campaign led by Soludom. The same Soludom that went to go and take pictures with Nnamdi Kanu before his election, promising the people that he would do everything to actually, in fact, he said Bukwari promised him that he would release Nnamdi Kanu all before the elections. After that, the same Soludom is out, championing the campaign that the release of Nnamdi Kanu will never end the insecurity in the eastern part of Nigeria today. So, the people are now at the mercy of God knows who, because they are on their own. Every day in the eastern part of Nigeria, you have the local criminals, you have the Fulani terrorists, but their operation is different. The Fulani terrorists are there to destroy people's farms and then attack them and chase them away, those who fail to. But if you have to see the images, the pictures, it's like every day, like every 5 days. You will see people macheted, either on their farms or in their community. This border town community called Ehamofu. People are bleeding right now. Those who come for the head of Nnamdi Kanu, I can't find them anymore. See those ones who wanted Nnamdi Kanu to be killed, jailed. Don't ever release him. People of Ehamofu, they are being killed by the Fulani terrorists right now. I haven't seen the same energy. I have not seen the same social media presence, the same energy that they were using, demanding for the illegal incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. I haven't seen that same now. Have you? Have you seen them come out right now in solidarity with the people of Hamufu? It's none of their business. It's not. But let a news say Nnamdi Kanu is to be freed, then you see the energy again. Don't release him. He's a this. He's a terrorist. He's the one that is causing insecurity in eastern Nigeria. This and that. People of Hamufu have been protesting for the past 2 weeks, non-stop. 2 weeks. I have not seen these social media influencers from the eastern part of Nigeria, from Igbo land. I haven't seen them. I have not seen those who claim to be obedient from the eastern part of Nigeria, who hate the Govt of Nnamdi Kanu to some extent. Not all of you, because I know there were those who are like obedient of eastern Nigeria at the same time who were asking for the justice or the right thing to be done. But there are some of you who took it upon yourselves. You take it so much with so much energy, demanding for an innocent man to be killed so that you can have peace. Now that the peace has eluded you right now, now that the people of Hamufu and other communities have been having 2 weeks endless non-stop protests, asking for the government to come to their aid, I haven't seen that same energy. Have you? I haven't. And that is why we hope that the likes of Soludom would understand The sacrifice, because this is more or less like a sacrifice now. The sacrifice that, the innocent blood of the Igbos that have been sacrificed by these murderers, Fulani jihadists, for their sake. They will join hands and demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. He must be released. He has to be released. Whatever your own political lineage, your political whatever, it is, without any safety, security, you are all living in a land, right, that is meant to actually soak your blood violently. This is not your blood being soaked because you are fighting for the land. It's being soaked because cowardly. Those who are supposed to protect you, they have absconded that responsibility. So we demand and we continue to remember we demand and we continue to demand for the release of Nnamdi Kanu, an innocent man that they have spent millions of dollars in trying to clamp down through propaganda, clamp down on the good intention, all right, of the IPOB. You call them whatever name you want to call them, but we can tell where that is coming from. I can tell where that is coming from. If you are not an Igbo person and you have this hatred for the IPOB, we also know where that is coming from too. Especially when you see the Ronukus who are more concerned or pretended to be concerned about the sit at home in the eastern part of Nigeria, using that to mock the Easterners and the rest of that. We also know that it's not because you love them, it's not because you care, it is simply because you are also part of those who felt so intimidated that a man of Nnamdi Kanu's stature could have such influence among the young and the old in that region, and therefore the fear of what that can be. You see, if Nnamdi Kanu succeeds in breaking up the Biafrans out of Nigeria non-violently, as he was demanding for a referendum, a non-violent peaceful movement called the IPOB, demanding for the independent Biafra. Somehow we get to know what that means to you too, especially you, the Ronukus of Lagos, the Yoruba Bonus, the Yoruba bastards, Somali that have brought so much shame upon the Yoruba race, right? Because of one druggie, one drug addict, drug dealer, drug baron, a certificate forger. A man that thrives in divisive politics, hateful politics, and name it. So we all know all of that. Unfortunate, right, that Nnamdi Kanu is in the hands of those who wanted his head. Or also again, it is also kind of like, almost like impossible for them to do whatever they had in mind. They can't kill him. They can't let him go. While the Fulani terrorists warned us about are indeed massacring our people, claiming lands, turning some of part of our land into ungoverned areas. Ungoverned areas are the areas controlled by these terrorists, where the Nigerian authority never dares to come close.
So, now that you finished watching this video, what do you take from this? This was not just about a man standing for himself. It was about a nation watching its own institutions bend and break under the weight of corruption. A judge who legally rescued herself was forced back onto the case allegedly. A government that could not legally try him kept changing charges to keep him detained, which was so obvious. Meanwhile, the real threats, the armed groups terrorizing communities, were either ignored or rewarded. Let's ask the hard question here. If Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was truly the problem, why has insecurity worsened in his absence? The answer is clear. He was never the cause. He was the warning. To those who once said his arrest would bring peace, where is the peace? The same communities that celebrated his capture are now crying out for help. begging for security, yet the system remains silent. Did they really arrest the right person? You answer me in the comment section. And what about those who once argued that he should be silenced? Are they willing to admit now that everything he predicted has come to pass? This is no longer about politics. This is about survival. When a government normalizes kidnapping, when courts operate on instructions rather than justice, when criminals walk free while those who challenge them are locked away, what future does that nation have? Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been in detention for over 3 years. And for what? For demanding a referendum, for speaking up. Meanwhile, terrorists are given second chances, released back into society, and even placed on government payrolls. We must ask ourselves, if a system treats truth as a crime, how long before it criminalizes us all? If we say anything, then that means we are against the law. We don't have any freedom of speech anymore. So, if this conversation matters to you, share it. Keep the dialogue going. Let's question, let's demand, and most importantly, let's never be afraid to speak out. Until next time, this is Explorewithsu, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.